All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Stack and Wins podcast. This is Brian and Josh, and today our guest is Ramon Masso-Flores, or Ray. We'll call him whatever we want.
That's right.
We're just going to go ahead and thank him today for showing up. I'm going to go ahead and give a quick intro. So, Ramon is a retired engineering department master chief. It's a mouthful. We just call them EDMCs on submarines. You retired as a master chief too, right?
Oh, senior chief.
Senior chief? Okay. Either way, that's still pretty badass. So how many years did you do?
20, almost 21.
Almost 21 years. What was your last boat?
San Juan.
San Juan. So the USS San Juan, was that
751.
751? That was, we were on 761, so he was...
751,
Good old
761.
Springfield, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, try to keep that mic close.
All right.
You can pull it towards you. Just watch your drink. So, okay, so what's interesting about Ramon is he didn't take the conventional way out like a lot of guys do and just go get some cheesy degree for his final shore duty. He went to law school on his last shore duty and passed the bar exam in Massachusetts in 2011, and then worked in the power construction industry as a military contractor for 10 years. Did you do that not while you were in the Navy, though? You did that afterwards.
No, that was my first gig after I
After
retired.
the Navy.
And
Okay.
I'll tell you the story about that in a
Okay.
little bit.
Yeah. I just wanted to try to connect because I was reading through that and I just wanted to connect that in my head. I figured that's what you did. His last tour in the Navy was as the only enlisted attorney at Regional Legal Services for 3 years. Was that here in Groton?
That was here in Groton.
Okay. And then he transitioned out of the Navy after, and I'm taking this as after your military contractor work, and opened his own solo law practice here in New London, and he works in the field of children protection and juvenile delinquency, and also family and criminal cases. I have a feeling this is just Brian's thoughts on it. That could probably be thankless work in the eyes of a lot of people, but it's probably very grateful work for you.
It sure is. It's a field that at the end of the day, you get a lot of people that really need help.
Right.
That otherwise wouldn't have it. So it can be rewarding. It can be heartbreaking.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine.
So you get a little bit of both things there.
And then the last thing, but probably not the last thing in his eyes, is he's been married for 29 years.
Gonna be 30 next year.
30 years.
Ooh, that's
and he
what I'm
has
talking about.
3 children and 3 grandchildren.
That's right.
Wow. Man, I just got 3 kids right now. Let's hope I keep it that way for a while. Although I heard grandchildren are a lot of fun.
They are. You get to return them back when you're done.
Yeah, I got a guy in my office. He's actually, not to get off on a tangent, but he's actually, let me think, like 3 or 4 years younger than me. He's already got 1 or 2 grandchildren. And he always talks about that, how he gets to just be like, all right, time to go back to your parents.
Listen, it's great to be a young granddad.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I can't wait. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor. I know Ray's got a huge story he's ready to tell. So I'm really glad that he's got the time to share with us. So we're going to go ahead and open it up and let Ray tell us some things that he's got going on.
No, it's awesome to be here. I haven't seen you in a while, Brian.
I know. It's been a while since we were on a 709 together.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah, I forgot to throw that in there. He's talking about it. We served together. God, how long ago was that now?
Well, we decommissioned Rick Cover in 2007.
And I left in 06.
So you left in 06, just before we went for decommissioning.
It's been almost
So
20.
we did one deployment together, right?
Yep. Yeah, we did one deployment, yeah. So
And
it's been a
then-
long time.
JMO here, we go way back too.
Yeah, mutual
Probably since the
friend
time he broke my lawn chair
in his front yard.
in my front yard.
I got set up on that.
Well, yeah, I had to blame that on somebody,
But I took
Josh
the
was
heat
there to
for
take
it.
it.
I was like, all right, I'll take the heat for it.
No, so it's really interesting, when to be able to sit here and just get shipmates that we cross paths for over 20-something years of back and forth,
Yeah.
and being able to get together here and talk about things. I mean, I've been listening to what you guys have been doing, but I had a chance to have a real good talk before coming on air. and I'm impressed, right? Just by the road and the things that you're doing. So it's really good. I think it's as role models, and as being able to motivate people to getting on a path towards stacking wins. I think that's great. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that path. Back in after Rickover, the boat that Brian and I served together, I went to the staff of Submarine Group 2 up in New Hampshire, up in Portsmouth. And I had the blessing of having a skipper there, having a captain that when the opportunity came for me to go to law school, he said, go ahead, just do your work here, go do it, we'll support you in whatever you have to do. And the thing about law school is it's not like going to college here and you do 2 years and then you go somewhere else unfinished. Law school is once you're pregnant, you're pregnant. So I had 3 years to do a full-time law school to finish at the same time that I finished shore duty before going back to my next assignment. So it was pretty intense. I talked to the wife and I told her, listen, this is a chance. This is what I want to do. Would you support me doing it? And she says, go on. You're not going to see me because I got out of work at 1600, 1700, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I drove an hour to Andover out in Mass, got out of school around midnight to come back. And then the next day we'll do the same just to study and get ready for the next day, of course. And I did that for 3 years. So thankfully the opportunity opened and it allowed me to do what I'm doing now. When I went to, which also allowed me to get that Twilight tour at the Relso, because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for my 2.5 years left in the Navy. The opportunity came up from the staff at Group 2 to go ahead and serve at the Relso. And being an enlisted attorney, it was something really cool. I think the coolest part and probably the thing that the guys at the Jack Corps really appreciated is, and no offense to my friends in the legal man community, is that their senior enlisted leadership don't have the operational understanding on how to develop junior officers.
Because most of the officers, or I'm sorry, most of the JAG lawyers in the Navy are all officers.
Right, absolutely.
And junior officers.
All of them, yes.
So you being a senior enlisted attorney, on top of that, with all your operational experience, was probably a huge benefit to their command.
I was able to get them, develop them into the leadership role besides the professional role as attorneys, because they get focused on that and they don't get the experience. So I was able to manage getting them on rides and submarines so they could understand the experience of the guys that they were representing, right? And being able to provide a little bit of senior leadership perspective in that role without stepping on anybody's toes, because they did have senior legal men that were assigned to those roles, but we were able to collaborate, and bring a different perspective, and that was pretty cool. So then I get to retirement, which was on itself was pretty interesting, because the speaker of my retirement now, Admiral Lewis, back then Captain Lewis, Commodore Lewis, he says, it's the first time I go to a retirement that I have 50% Navy nukes and 50% lawyers.
That's funny.
So it was a pretty interesting one. And as I'm getting out to the point of the story that we were telling about my first gig, my only goal was to get out of the Navy and go hang a shingle. When I went to school to do this, I'm just going to go ahead, similar to you with your barber shop, let's go ahead. I'm not working for anybody else. I'm just gonna do this. And I got a phone call. and he's a headhunter, and he comes and tells me, "Hey, Ramon, I know you're not interested in getting in the engineering field anymore, but I want you to just go and talk to these guys. Just go talk to them." It's like, okay. They booked me an interview in with this company at a job fair in Parsippany, New Jersey. And I go there, and I meet this guy who happened to be the VP of the company, having to be a prior nuke mechanic surface type. And we start talking, and he comes and says, "Listen, I'm not gonna kid you here. I'm gonna tell you how it is. I want you to take this job, and I don't want the same thing that happened to that last guy that I offer it to happen to you, to happen with you." It's like, "What happens?" "Well, I have this guy named Bruce, and I'm gonna drop names here because I think it's important." And it's like, and I offer him this job, and then he found a job closer to home, and he took it. So we didn't get him. So I want to log you in this. It's like, "Bruce, well, what's his last name?" And he gives me the guy's last name. And it's like, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I know this guy. This guy is a guy that when he was retiring, he wanted to go back to Cincinnati. And he was looking for a job. So I told him, "Hey, listen, I have good friends at Procter & Gamble that can probably get you in."
Oh yeah, okay.
This is 6 months before I'm even going to an interview. I have no idea what's happening outside in the world. I'm just trying to help a shipmate out.
Right.
Gotcha.
And he goes, I don't think he took the job at P&G because he went and interviewed with them, but he did more interviews in Cincy and he got a job out there. But he didn't take this job that 6 months later they're offering me on account that he was offered something that I helped him look. So somewhat I'm paving the road to what's coming later without me knowing. Mm-hmm. So the guy tells me, "I want you to go down to Towanda, Pennsylvania." It's like, Towanda? Where the hell's Towanda?
Yeah, where is that? And
It's in Bradford County.
where's that in relation to like Pittsburgh, Philly?
So it's right on the banks of the Susquehanna River, just past Scranton.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So if you have Scranton, you have Williamsport, all them.
Yep.
They're on the Susquehanna, and Towanda is right there. It's the seat of Bradford County, and I said, "Just go out there, just meet the other VP out there, see what we're doing, what we're building. If you like it, we'll talk." So I go out there and says, I tell the wife, "Hey, I'm gonna be going to Towanda. I'm gonna be driving to Pennsylvania tomorrow. I'm gonna go see this thing, see what it's all about." So I get out there. Essentially, it's a power plant. I mean, it's a gas power plant that they're building, but
Okay.
it's a boiler, a couple turbines, reduction gears, a chemistry, a little, switchboards. It's just a power plant. And I'm looking around, and I talk to the guys, and I see the camaraderie and the whole deal. And the VP there, the other vice president of the company there, tells me, "Hey, how you like it? Just go home, and I'm going to send you an offer letter over the weekends for you to review." It's like, all right, that's good. I get to the gas station to put gas in my car, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, I just sent you the offer letter."
Wow, that was quick.
It's like you said over the weekend, I'm ready to go home. It's
You just went down the road.
yeah. I mean, I literally was about 5 minutes away from site. And he comes and tells me, "Check the offer letter." And I look at the offer letter and it's like, okay. It's a pretty decent offer. I call the wife and it's like, "Sweetheart, I know we prayed about which way we're going to go with this, and I have a good offer, and all these things have lined up in a way that, there has to be something in God's plan here for this to line up this way."
Right.
Says and she was like, "If you feel comfortable, I'm fine with it." It's like, all right.
So she was right. She was comfortable with up and moving and
Well,
relocating.
The problem with those jobs is that you really don't relocate. It's a
okay.
construction job, so you are on per diem. You're on salary and per diem. and what I was coming home every other week.
Oh, got it.
So
Almost like an oil rig.
it's exactly. I mean, the community you have builders and gassers. That's what you have.
Got it.
You're building gas power plants in the Marcellus Shale up there, and
Oh, it's fracking.
it's fracking.
Yeah.
It's and at that time, that was this company that I went to work with. They had we were building 3 plants in Pennsylvania, one plant in Middletown, Ohio, just close to your neck of the woods,
Yep, that's right up the road from me.
yeah.
Middletown, yeah.
and another plant in Beckwith, Pennsylvania, and one in North Carolina. So it was a pretty heavy investment that this company was having in these builds, and they were definitely looking for people to work for them, and the money was right. I mean, at the end of the day, the pay was enough to make me not worry too much about being gone again,
Right.
for weeks
Yeah.
at a time from home and coming home. With the promise, and this is the caveat that came afterwards. The promise was that the job that was offered, I'm not gonna say the position, but it was a specific job that I was gonna take because the guy that was filling it was retiring.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But in order for me to get to that position, they wanted me to do these couple projects first, because the way that industry works, your resume goes on the bids.
Okay.
So whoever your key players are, and what the people bidding on these projects or taking the bids for these projects look is megawatts under your belt. How many
Gotcha.
megawatts have you commissioned? How many megawatts have you built?
So that's how they determine.
Right. And that's how your clients, the people that you're building for, decide to give you a contract if your core staff have meet certain criteria. So they wanted me to go ahead and have civilian megawatts under my belt. So I said, okay, that's good. I'll sacrifice for a year and a half, and then I'll be at the home office, and then I'll be traveling to site on site doing what the other job was. So get to do that, and did it for finished the project in Towanda, moved to a project in Williamsport, did the same thing, and then came back to the main offices here in Connecticut to start prepping for the other 5 projects that were on the works, with the expectation that I was going to take this position. The guy that I was going to relieve comes and calls me to his office. And he tells me, hey, I'm sorry to tell you this, but the company thinks that you still need a little bit more megawatts under you, so they're going to bring somebody to take my job for a little bit until you do this other project. I said, okay, that's fine. I can probably do this for a little bit longer, as long as you guarantee me this. And mind you, at this time, the money was not wrong, right? The bonuses, it's a small. These companies, the way they work, the core staff is about 60, 70 people. Everybody else that works in the projects are subs or higher for those projects specific. So the profits get shared between the staff. So
That's good.
At the end of the day, your profit sharing and your bonuses for every milestone is pretty significant. So it was nothing that I could say no to. And so the guy that decided to bring on board is a guy that was working construction projects in South Africa. I believe that's where he was. And he takes the job, but before he comes to take the job, he wants to go bring his wife, who was from Taiwan, to visit her family because, once he got into the States, they were going to be stuck here for a while. Guy goes there, gets a bacteria, and dies.
What?
In Taiwan.
Wow.
And he's from the United States.
See, he's from the
Yeah.
U.S. His wife was American, Taiwanese descent, had family out there.
Oh my gosh,
Man.
that's unfortunate.
And
Wow.
gets to the point that, I was getting mad now because they can, we're going to look for somebody else. I say, well, how many people need to quit or die before you give me the job that you hired me to do? It's like, you just have to hold on for a little bit longer.
And how many years had you been there at that point?
It was just shy of 2 years.
Okay.
just shy of 2 years. And
But they don't look at years; they look at
megawatts.
That's their experience,
Right. Which at which point I told him, a power plant's a power plant.
Right.
You know?
How many? Did they count any of your Navy time?
Yeah, I was gonna
megawatts.
say, like, there's none of that.
So
Just
they so couldn't translate it, right?
Oh, they couldn't. They couldn't work that equation, huh?
So at the end of the day, I said, you know what?
We got
screw it.
ELTs for that.
Yeah, screw it. I said, screw it. That's fine. I'll just stick around. And I get one last project out of Oxford, Connecticut. And I'm doing this project, which I was commuting for. I was driving an hour, 15 minutes every morning.
Yeah, where the hell's that at?
So if
a lot of time in
Oxford's right
Connecticut
between
over
New
there.
Haven and Waterbury.
Okay, got it.
So it's right there in the middle there. There's no avoiding. You can come either way, and at the end of the day, it's gonna take you the same amount of time. So I'm there, and I've been there for about a month and a half. And I tell Yvonne, my wife, it's like, sweetheart, I can't do this commuting.
That's up by the
Yeah.
mix master.
Yeah.
That's got to be a terrible commute.
And I tell her, I'm gonna go on per diem. I'm gonna get an apartment there. I'll spend I'll do every other day. And she's okay. Let's do that. So I go there. I look at an apartment. I go there on a Friday to give my deposit and get my keys to my apartment that I'm gonna move in over the weekend so that I don't have to do this commute. And the lady at the apartment place says, "Oh, we don't take the deposits with on personal checks. It's either money order or cashier's check." And I'm like, listen, then I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow because it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
I feel like I
there's
know
no bank.
I feel like I know where this is going.
As I'm leaving this place and getting in the car, I get a phone call. And I get a phone call from the same guy that was my captain when I went to law school.
Oh, okay.
And he says, Ramon, you want a job in Groton?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what is it? It's like, well, you want to go be the squadron material officer? It's like, okay, sure. How much are you going to pay me? How much do you need? I was like, let me throw this number at you. It's like, we can do that. You can start in 2 weeks? Yeah, I'll give notice. I'll start in 2 weeks. That's fine. I go back and I give notice that I was quitting. And I go home. I come back the next day. All my access is gone. My computer access is gone. And mind you, this is a construction site.
yeah.
Without my computer,
What are you
there's
doing?
nothing
Yeah.
for me.
You're literally kicking rocks.
And I
Hey, hanging out.
and I tell my boss, hey, I don't have access to any plans. I don't have access to any schedules. I don't have access to anything here. What am I going to do? I'm going to spend these next 2 weeks. Oh, it's protocol. Once you give notice to secure your access. Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to sit here for 2 weeks looking at you guys. So I'm out. I call my guy back. It's like, hey, can I start on Monday? It's like, yeah, we're ready.
Double dip.
And I was like, sure thing. So I started, and mind you, all this time I've been trying to get away from this
Industry.
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
But I got bills to pay. I have kids in college, and it's a paycheck. I don't have to be running behind ambulances to get money.
Right.
So that level of security kind of was something, right? And I get to start working at this job, working with Josh for a while, and I was there for what, Josh, about almost 5 years.
Yeah, close. Yeah, I'd say 5 years.
Yeah, so 5 years, and then I get, mind you, none of these jobs I was looking for, Brian. It's like, hey, would you like to do this? And when I was sitting there at the job, and I love what I did at the squadron. It was a phenomenal
I
job.
remember seeing you around up there.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I got everything I wanted. We got a job that didn't exist. We took the load out of the operational guy. But usually, the way the squadrons in Groton are set up, the squadron engineer was also the material officer.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, you have a guy that's managing all the maintenance and repair for submarines that's also riding 75% of the time.
Yep.
And you can't do it. So managed to step up that job, take the load off of the engineer so he can focus on training nukes and let me focus on fixing boats and maintaining boats. And I got a good team there with Jamo and his guys that essentially just kept the boats going. And then I get a phone call because I got to the point that I was like, there's nothing else that I can do here to make it better. I'm plateaued here. You know, it's like, hey, do you want this different job? I said, I thought about it. They came back with a good money offer that couldn't say no to. I said, all right, sure, I'll take it. I gave notice on this job, you know, and transition, got them a guy to come fill my place, and moved on. About September, and at this time I've been practicing law here and there, you know, little things that don't require too much involvement because I didn't have the time. Little cases, you know, family cases here, a divorce here, you know, here and there.
When you were doing that, were you doing it independently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of real estate closings when the market was right.
Oh yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I did a lot of those, you know, those kind of things just to keep me
Absolutely.
going in the lawyering a little bit, not to feel that I wasted my time going to school. And sometime, I believe it was September of last year, I get a phone call from my boss at the company that I was with, and says, "Yeah, I wanted to talk to you. I want to let you know that the Navy is canceling the contract that we have you on. They figured that you already fixed the problem that they had, so they don't need you anymore." Essentially, that's
so
what
they're going to
happened.
cancel it because
yeah.
you canceled your own job.
I developed systems that they didn't have, so they didn't need me anymore. So I'm like, I'm
Worked
sitting
yourself
there.
right out of a job.
I'm sitting there. I say, all right, what am I going to do now? I guess this is the time to hang a shingle. I got a phone call from a friend. And he's like, hey, how do you like children protection? And it's like, well, I've never done it, but what's in it? It's like, well, you just, I'll show you the ropes. Put your paperwork with the Office of the Chief Public Defender. They'll give you a contract and they'll assign you cases. It's like, that sounds good. Next month, you know, as I transition, they kept me on payroll on the other job for about 2 months, trying to find me another job, but I'm just sitting doing nothing. So I start picking up cases. And as I'm picking up cases, when the time came, I said, yeah, I'm not doing this Navy stuff anymore. And I went straight into continuing with what I was going to do 10 years ago, and I'm doing it now. So, but the point is that I have had to reinvent myself, and I don't have a problem with it.
Right. You've had to do it more. I mean, you did it multiple times throughout your career in the Navy, as you matured in the Navy, and then you've done it multiple times outside of the Navy in order to become where you are now.
Right, and to the point of the practice right now where I'm at, I found something that I'm passionate about, that I think is important, because at the end of the day, my role is to ensure that the government doesn't overstep and unduly encroaching the lives of people that are just trying to raise their kids. And that's something that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
and here I am. That's it.
Wow. Right before we came on, we were talking about some, and not to get into any specific cases or whatever. I understand you have your duty to your clients, but you have some very interesting things that you have to take care of with your clients every day. I think that's just admirable, and I couldn't even imagine the responsibility that carries.
Yeah, here's the interesting part, and it goes both to the criminal practice side of the house as well as the juvenile law and children protection. Connecticut is really good about assigning counsel to people based on income, and the standard for minimum income to get assigned counsel is pretty high compared to other places. So even though I get many clients, especially on the criminal sides, that are way below the poverty line, I get normal people that really I just need the help and can't pocket out $30,000 for a private lawyer to take care of them, right? But it's you do get, just by the function of what it is, you do have to deal with many situations that, like I told you, that can be heartbreaking, and many times in children protection cases, you do see situations of abuse that they are present. It's real. Same with criminal cases. You see the scourge of addiction, especially in the poor communities, and guys that just can't get out of their own way,
Right.
with their addictions. The repeat offenders. Because I had a client that told him, my problem is my addiction and I can't beat it, and everything that has happened to him is on account of it. And sitting down in front of the judge, it's like, just put me in treatment. I mean, this guy's begging, lock me up into treatment, at least to get clean for a little bit, because he can't put the needle down. He can't.
He's so addicted.
It's
he part of him, pretty much.
It's his whole conduct, and this is this probably early 40s man that, and all the relationships that they build around this codependent relationships with other addicts.
Wow.
That, so they can't.
Well, that's their circle.
Right. They
Yep.
can't find a way out, and there's nothing out there to help them. I mean, you drive through New London right now, and I'm taking New London for example because that's where my office is. And on my way to my office in New London, there's three places dedicated to substance abuse treatment.
Right. Yep.
Just 3 places, and these are revolving doors of treatment for these guys. That, yeah, there's court order treatment. I'm gonna put myself into this, or I'm gonna put myself into Stonington Institute, and then just go down to some half sober house somewhere, just to avoid going to jail. But that revolving door puts them right back where they were. Now, on the other hand, I'm sorry, I don't.
No, go ahead.
On the other hand, every once in a while, I get that glimmer of hope. I got a case in which the child was removed on account of the parent's substance abuse. And these guys took it seriously to work on their substance abuse, to the point that the state was able to place the child, and this is a newborn. This baby was 2 months old, brand new kid.
Okay.
Place it with mother while mother was going through inpatient therapy to get better. At the same time, father's going through doing his stuff, and through the process, I mean, you can see that they really want to make it work, So that there's definitely that desire. There's other ones that you can't fix, that they are, without some serious work, they will not get out of where they are. And here's the real problem, that the way the system set up in the children protection realm is all time based. And when a child is removed, and you can, the state has to do everything possible, every reasonable effort to get the kid back. But the clock's ticking. You don't have forever to get your kid back. And if you, in a certain amount of time, you can show that you can rehabilitate, then they're going to remove that kid forever. They're going to terminate your parental rights.
So the parent has a certain amount of time
Absolutely.
to show rehabilitation, and
Absolutely.
if they don't,
Absolutely.
then
then
all bets are off.
by a certain amount of time, and I'm not gonna get
No, you don't have to.
by a certain amount of time, if the department has to do what's called a permanency plan, and that permanency plan has to show whether or not reunification is possible. And the parent, if the parent or whatever situation caused the child to be removed is not present, it can be done, whether it is substance abuse or incarceration or whatever you name it. Then the state has the obligation to file termination of parental rights and terminate that child and open that child to be adopted.
Yeah, man.
And at that point, those parents, they don't ever have a chance again.
Once the rights are terminated, they're done.
Wow.
The only thing that sometimes you can do, and it's get the child, and this happens more often than not. Let's say that mother has a substance abuse issue, whatever the case may be. I'm using substance abuse because I think goes right with what we're talking about.
Well, I think it's a great thing to talk about because, and I don't want to interrupt you where you're at. I just want to, while I have this fresh, I think it's a great thing to talk about because substance abuse, mostly alcohol, I think, but substance abuse, 1 in 15 military and veterans are addicted to some sort of substance abuse.
Sure.
1 in every 15. With that said, they're not immune to getting something like this happening to them.
And we have I've seen military clients in my courthouse all the time.
And with that said, I also think that it's important to keep this in the back of your mind if you're one of those people that think that, well, I just drink a little bit, or I just do this, or and it can't happen to me, and I won't let it happen to me because I'm immune to it. And the next thing you know, you're the one, or one of your sailors, if you're, say, a leader or something, is standing in the courtroom thinking it was never going to happen to you, and you're at the very end of it, and next thing you know, you're almost at the point of losing your kid, and you're still not getting the treatment you need. So I think I just wanted to highlight that to say, because there's been people that's already reached out to me on this saying, I think your podcast and the message you're working on is great, but I've never had an issue with alcohol, so I don't really know that the message is for me. And I'm going to talk about this later on, just on a post on Instagram and social media, because I want that to be a message that's in itself and not lost in a whole video. They say that I don't really know that this message is for me because I've never had an issue. Well, one of your sailors might,
right?
Or someone you know
relative,
might,
or a loved one,
or you might be the 14, and you know the 1 in the 15, and you could be the one to help them get right, so that maybe they're the ones that don't get their kids in the system that they can't get them out of.
And it's important to understand the way the system works, right? So usually the way children protection works, at least in Connecticut, and it's very similar in other states, but at least in Connecticut, what happens is that the Department of Children and Families will receive a phone call through the care line or through what is called a mandatory reporter, like a police officer or a school counselor.
Because there are mandatory reporters, like you're saying.
They're mandatory reporters.
Yeah.
So once the Department of Children and Families gets that call, let's call it that, a call, they have a duty to investigate, and they can either move on with the case or not, depending on what, they do some investigation and find out if this merits. Depending on what happens there, the department has the option of filing a petition. So there's a couple things that will happen. They can file a neglect petition, which essentially the way it works is that conditions, there's some neglectful conditions, whether it is educational or whether it's health, the kid's not being taken to his medical appointments, or he's not going to school, whatever, right? Uncared for neglect. That can come on by itself, but oftentimes it comes with a petition for an order of temporary custody. And an order of temporary custody comes into play after the department has determined that there are conditions injurious to the well-being of the child that required immediate removal. For example, Dad has been on a bender for a week. Or let's do one more that will probably be closer to us. Dad is a sailor on USS Osterfish on deployment.
Yep. This is a good
Mom's
one.
lonely. Mom's lonely at home, and she decides that she's gonna go on a weekend bender, and she forgets that she has an 8-year-old at home that has been eating Cheetos and Kool-Aid all weekend. Hasn't taken a bath and show up to school dirty,
Yep.
and she can't even spell school at this point in time.
Got head lice
Right.
and all kinds of stuff.
Right. So the department will probably take a look at that and say, well, we need to remove the kid. Mom's been drunk for a weekend.
Right.
We need to put this kid on 96-hour hold. So they have a meeting, right, to take a look with the parents and whatnot. And depending on what happens on that meeting, the Department of Children and Families will go ahead and say, no, we got to remove the child. Once the child is removed, the department has to file the petitions for. They have 96 hours to file a petition for temporary custody, which is an ex parte petition, in which the department doesn't need. The judge will issue the order if the conditions are met.
It's almost like a warrant in a sense. The judge issues it, and it's
an ex parte.
law.
It's an ex parte order.
You know,
Yeah.
he goes, yep, met, bam, done.
So what will happen is, like, if this happened on Monday, the order will issue, and then what will happen is that you come on a Friday, if you're lucky, to go ahead and fight for your kids right then. And you have the option of explaining to the judge why you should have your kids back. And if that's the case, then you have the state has to have a hearing on it no later than 10 days.
So now you're at.
You're at 2 weeks and change.
I was gonna say, like, we'll just call it almost 3 weeks at that point.
In the best case scenario, this kid was placed with grandma or with aunt. But
Considering what we're talking about here, you most likely won't have a family member living. On average, you won't have a family member that lives close by.
If you're a guy-
like I never did as a kid, as a young sailor. So now that kid's getting placed in what kind of scenario?
It will be on a court foster home.
A court foster home.
with somebody. That depends on the kid's age as well.
So in the scenario that we built here, if that you're talking in the context of a submarine sailor, because that's who Josh and I were trying to target when we were talking about all this stuff to begin with. Our community. In the scenario that he built for us, the likelihood is that if you're going down this path and you get caught up in this, your kid is going to be in a court appointed foster home while your wife tries to get this sorted out when you're on deployment.
Yep, and here's a crazy thing that I try to explain to my clients. The standard of proof in child protection cases is very, very low. It's a preponderance of the evidence standard. It's not like criminal court that you have to prove. The state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. This is
right.
it more likely than not. This and here's the other point.
Those are the key words, more likely than not. I've heard that before.
And the point being with a sailor, right? Sometimes I get people wrapping around, well, I wasn't there. I wasn't negligent. Well, the state is not trying to say Brian did this or Josh did this or Megan did this or however it is. The state is just showing that it happened. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who did it.
It happened to that child.
It happened to the child. That's all they have to
They're
prove.
trying to keep the child safe.
That's right. And I explain and I understand the lower standard. I mean, we're talking about failing conservative for the sake of the child.
For the sake of the child.
Right? You don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Let me ask you this.
Right on this.
Let me ask you this. So, in the scenario, I say that you two guys are at the school for my daughter, can pick her up from school. In this scenario, can you have a non-relative be your person?
Yes. So
I'm not trying to give it out.
You're talking about foster care.
Yeah.
So there's.
I'm not trying to like, hey, now you got a reason to just be a dipshit. I'm just like saying,
Yeah.
In the case that you're talking about, because we say it all the time, you have what is called a fictive kin. It's
Okay.
somebody close to you that is not real family,
Yeah.
but it's close enough. And still, the Department of Children and Families will have
They
to
have
evaluate.
to. I was going to say they have to
Right.
determine that, right?
We'll
They're
have-
not just
we'll-
going to make it anybody.
We'll have to determine. You have to get licensed. You have to be approved to be able to be the foster
Really?
person.
It's a deep,
So it's
deep road.
Most likely,
is.
it's still probably going to end up being a court-appointed foster family
Not
until.
necessarily. You see a lot of fictive kin.
Really?
You do see, especially
They're probably trying to make it the least effective on the child.
It
if
doesn't
they
take
can.
it doesn't take a lot to determine if somebody's suitable to foster
Yeah.
somebody, right? It just what they're looking for is, does this person have a criminal history? Did this person has history with with children issues before? All those kind of things that get looked at. But
This is so good.
to the point of this, we're talking about getting a hearing, right? The judge doesn't have to issue a ruling right away either. So what we're talking about, the judge has 120 days to issue a ruling. So if the judge, for some reason, thinks that it's worthwhile to keep this kid where it is, even though there's some conditions that are iffy, that the proof is not there, the judge will probably hold on for that decision.
Just
For
a little bit longer.
For a
that's
little
all.
bit longer. Just let the things settle down. So if you think you're getting your kid in 2 weeks, unlikely. Unlikely. There are situations, right, to the point we're talking about sailors here. There are situations in which the court will say, well, that wasn't here. That has nothing to do. As long as dad is away from mom, we'll put the kid with dad.
Oh, got it.
Okay? But once again, is that where we want to be? Right? Sometimes the system works that it makes the two parties be away from each other for the sake of the kid. So it's the kind of stuff that you have to work with.
But just think, this is the real truth of substance abuse and everything else that happens. Like people, I think a false reality of what life really is and doesn't really see what's really happening in the inner workings of families, parents, kids, that when people are addicted, right, there's just all these failings, and the ones that get crushed are usually the kids, the family members, stuff like that.
I will tell you that there's very seldom a case that involves children protection in which substance abuse is not involved.
Yeah, one way or another.
One way or another. Even in cases of straight abuse, kid got a fat lip because dad came home drunk and kid wasn't doing his homework, so dad loses his temper and beats up the kid. There's still a substance abuse element into that. There's some mental health issues that come into play sometimes without substance abuse. But I will say, if I was going to group into the biggest component of most children protection cases is substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or drugs.
I can believe it.
A lot of intimate partner violence, but I will tell you that most of the times intimate partner violence comes as a result of
Substance
abuse.
I take it back to this. I wrote this down while you guys were still talking. I go back to my point that just because you may not be the type of person that became addicted to drinking or whatever, that this whole scenario that he just talked through with us, that Ramon just talked through with, is a prime example of how you could become affected by it. It's kind of like cancer, right? I use that as an example, and you guys, anybody watching and listening to this can say, well, how could you even equate it to that? Well, my mom died of cancer, so I can talk about it. The thing is, this is just as damning as cancer, because you may say to yourself, well, I'm not an alcoholic, so it didn't affect me. It's never going to affect me. I'm never going to let it affect me. Well, it could. It can reach out and touch you, whether you're the one opening and cracking a bottle every day, or it ends up being someone in your family, or that you end up getting a knock on the door one night because some police officers bringing over your best friend's little 5-year-old and saying, are you willing to watch him for the next few weeks while we get this sorted out, because dad's on deployment and mom's going to prison or jail or whatever.
Or you get the knock on the door and it's the cops telling you someone you loved is dead.
Right.
Because someone else decided, it's...
Cancer touches everyone, and I think that this stuff does too, whether you realize it or not.
You know that, just to put it in perspective, and I don't want to bring it back to the children protection side of the house.
Oh no, please, anything you want to talk about.
But to give the perspective of the level of importance that the state places to the process, in criminal court, the state is represented by state attorneys.
Yep.
Right. In children protection cases, the state is represented by the deputies of the attorney general. That is the level of seriousness.
So it's like boom.
So
Like,
deputies
here's
of the
normal.
attorney general of the state.
Of the state. So the assistant attorney generals. That's the name of the prosecutors of
And the
this.
attorney general is the highest ranking
He's the highest ranking law enforcement officer.
law
of the state.
enforcement officer of the state of
So
Connecticut.
that's like state attorneys. Boom, deputy of the. They're up.
Yeah, it's a different. I wouldn't
Yeah.
categorize it as different level, but just have to have its own section separate from the state attorney's office, just to focus on children protection.
Wow.
To the point that
well, I think they should because they don't have they can't represent themselves.
well,
know?
what other states have state attorneys.
Oh, God.
Regular prosecutors that will roll it. In Connecticut, the role of the office of the attorney general is the one that signs off on every children protection case
Connecticut takes
for
a
the
little
prosecution side of the house, and the office of the chief public defender, has its own division just solely for child protection and juvenile. That separate from criminal, just because that's the focus.
Wow.
That's how
Serious it's taken.
serious is taken. It's and you will be surprised, and I truly was, with how much there is out there. A day like today, which is a short calendar day, usually a short calendar day at one courthouse is when you take all your pleas, all your motions, besides trial. It's everything but trial, right? There were 24 cases and 5 case status conferences out of one court for one judge on a small town. I'm talking Waterford.
That's all for children
Wow.
That's all
protection?
children protection in Waterford.
Man.
Okay? Just think about that for a second. We're talking anything from neglect to temporary custodies to uncared for and abuse.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
That's every Tuesday.
That's like this.
And it's going to be like that again tomorrow?
Well, next Tuesday will be like
Yeah.
that.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, tomorrow's delinquency day. Tomorrow I have to deal with
Holy
juvenile
God, I thought it was going to be
delinquents.
like that again tomorrow.
Juvenile delinquents, you get about 3 or 4 a day.
Oh, okay.
But
That's what I was growing up.
yeah,
Juvenile delinquent.
when we all,
Not much
So-
has changed.
some of us got caught, some of us didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a just to put in perspective, right? And then you think about, this is just Waterford, and Waterford looks every case that comes out of the Norwich DCF office.
Okay.
Okay, you have Willimantic, you have New Haven, you have Middletown. These are all children protection courts,
Wow.
Oh, those are different courts.
different courts,
And they're all doing this.
every single.
And they all had their own stack of cases, just
they
like
all have
Waterford.
their own stack of cases.
Some more, some less, some.
Willimantic and New Haven are pretty packed.
Oh, I can only imagine New Haven.
Yep.
And Willimantic. I mean, Willimantic, yeah, I can imagine.
Just by geographic area alone.
Yeah,
it's pretty
and I
packed.
mean, New Haven's a big town.
Right. So it's pretty intense. I mean, there's like I told you, when I took on this role, I didn't realize how much it was gonna be. But when you're getting 10, 12 cases assigned every month,
Yeah.
just to one attorney, and the way they're set up as a panel. So essentially, all the defense attorneys are part of a firm of the Office of the Chief Public Defender, and it's a Waterford panel. That's about 7 of us, right? And just think about that. Every attorney getting 10, 12 cases signed every month, some more, some less. That's a lot of cases.
I hope you got a staff working for you.
I'm gonna need one pretty soon. But yeah,
Holy cow.
it's pretty intense.
It breaks my heart that it's that much, but it's the sad reality of the life we currently, the status of what things are right now.
There's
people.
There's components having to do with housing stability that plays a big part in this. I mean, you have people out there that are really struggling to be able to have a roof over their heads. They're talking about school systems that are not designed. I don't want to say that they're not supportive, because I know they try, but they can really, they're not suited for many cases. And as much as they try, and some people are better than others. I mean, people are people, right?
Yeah.
But some systems are not suited to help kids. You have communities that are not that are just fostering an environment in which younger parents are not equipped to deal with their children, right? You have parents that have significant mental issues that they shouldn't. I mean, I don't want to say they shouldn't be having children, but it's ill-advised for them to have children while they're struggling with their own demons.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I always say one thing, and I'm a man of faith. I'm Christian, and that's my walk. And I always say the same thing, whether it has to do with feeding the homeless or roofing the homeless. The day we're able to close down all these things that do that, so the day I will be happy.
Oh yeah.
The day I don't have to serve
the day you're
one
out of
more meal.
business.
Yeah, the day I don't have to serve one more meal to the homeless, or that I don't have to go to court because a child was neglected or abused.
Oh my God.
I'll be happy.
Oh yeah.
But and then hopefully the real estate market picks up and I can do closings to just supplement my income.
Yeah, you can work with Megan and just do closings.
Yeah, something's gonna pay the bills. I have expensive taste.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
wow.
one thing I am really thankful for. This area, there is a bountiful number of people that volunteer their time in New England area to help others.
Right.
It is pretty touching to see how many people volunteer to help people less fortunate than them.
And it's funny you say that. There's definitely a need to be helped, but I will tell you one thing, that there's a lot of people that need to help because of how fulfilling it is. I have a good friend of mine. She's a realtor as well, and she was looking for something meaningful to do, and I introduced her to my church and their community meal program, so they could help on Saturdays. This lady's bringing all her friends. I mean, it's their thing. Every fourth Saturday they'll get together.
But that's how things were like in the early part of our country.
Yeah.
You sit back and look in history, the early part of the country, they would gather, people would, make groups of people back then were only like 30 or 40.
Right.
Communities, and they would come together, they would cook, they would share, and then they'd go back. But that's what it was. It was a community.
But just think about that. Well, we're talking about that change of your mindset, right? I want to do something different. I want to do something better. She's stacking a win helping other people.
Right.
Which it seems like
and
it's
bringing
hitting
her children.
in the heart.
And she's bringing her children, right? Who are
Teaching them.
12, 14, 15 years old
Yeah.
to show them the value of helping and the value of community.
I think
service.
that's where we as a country, I'm not trying to get all geopolitical here either.
Oh, please do.
That could be another podcast with the three of us. I think that's where us as a country need to make changes too, is like showing our kids the right path.
There's and I'm gonna bring this up because I want you guys. This is homework, and you got to take a look at it. There's a book.
I'm writing down homework like I just got told by the teacher to get busy.
We both grabbed pens and pencils. Did you guys see that?
He just gave us a lookup. And I was qualified when he got to the Rickover, so I didn't have to get any damn lookups from him.
Well, but you did sign my quote card, though.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
Look at that.
So
bunch of old goats.
There's a book called Bowling Alone.
I've heard of this. Oh yeah, great. I never read it, but I heard a whole like podcast about
Watch
it.
the documentary.
That's what I watched. The documentary. Oh my god, it's so
Bowling
Interesting.
alone.
Bowling
Yeah.
Alone. I don't think the documentary is called Bowling Alone.
no. It's called something else, but
It's called Join or Die.
so yeah.
So, so
Okay.
the premise is this sociologist
Crazy.
that did a study.
He gave that homework to everybody watching this too. By the way.
So he did a study of back in Italy when they rearranged their political structure. You know, where they split the towns equally. They kind of set up their municipalities in a certain way that they were all the same.
Yep.
Some were successful, some were not.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out, where is it education? Is it economics? Is this industrial town? Is this an agricultural town? What's happening here?
Yeah, was
with
one
this-
fishing, was one not. Yeah.
What's happening here? And one thing that he realized is that the towns that were successful were towns with high sense of community, in which people will get together to do stuff
As a
together,
community.
as
yeah.
a community, whether it's going to choir or whether it's skating in the winter all together, whatever
And
it
it
is.
really didn't matter what the activity was; they were just doing it
as long
together.
as they did it together.
That's how I grew up in my neighborhood. We all knew each other. We all did stuff together. The
But there's
parents-
more to it than that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So what he come to figure out is like how he starts looking at America, and how things have changed from the post-war, from the 50s
Yep.
and on, and he comes to realize he decided to take a look at bowling alleys, and he takes a look at bowling alleys and he realizes that people are still going to bowl, but nobody's joining leagues.
Right. Right.
They go, they hang out, they throw the ball down the alley, they have an hour of bowling, but there's no togetherness. So he comes to realize that over time, you know, you remember you growing up, Sammy, you drove into your town and you'll see the sign for the Kiwanis Club, the Rotary Club,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh
Exchange
yeah.
Club, you know.
The
Everywhere.
lions and the elks
Yeah.
and the moose.
Everybody,
Oh,
meetings,
yeah.
meetings are this day, right? And everybody had a place that it didn't matter. It didn't matter where you went to. You could find community, even if you were in a different town. Hey, I'm gonna go hang out with my brother Lions or my brother sons. Some
People wore
organizations still
the
do it.
shiny jackets with the
That's
little.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
March
They did
for Ice or whatever.
some did summer camps and like everybody did stuff together.
Yep.
So the conclusion that he comes with, and he developed a term, or he coined a term called social capital. And he said that communities with high social capital, in which people were invested in each other in association, were successful. And there's, you know, there were back and forth, you know, different social scientists, you know, discredit his work and whatnot. But the bottom line, to the point that we're talking about support systems, there is no question that a community that has strong bonds is more successful than another one.
Oh, agree.
Yes.
I mean, even if you look, whatever it is, right? You take a look at three old fat submariners, you know, that cross our paths and we share one thing in common, and we can pick up a conversation
Right.
like we saw each other yesterday,
Yep.
right?
It's
Like
amazing.
Jamo, I don't talk
Yeah.
to you probably in about a year and a half where we don't talk,
Yeah, probably.
right? So and it happens like that, you know, and
Yeah.
it's things that bind people. Sometimes you don't even need a goal. All you need to do is have that sense of belonging, and if you don't have that, and I'm a libertarian at heart. I believe in individual, you know, but there has to be that freedom for you to join other people for something that you want, that you care about, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty determinative of how successful a community can be.
Right.
I mean, you can look at problems, and like we were talking about earlier about all these rehab, substance abuse places that are everywhere or whatnot, and the revolving door theory is because there's something missing.
Yeah.
So what's missing there? Why can't we fix it? I mean, why can't we fix the homelessness issue, or the hunger issue? What is there? So because as communities we don't take care of each other. I mean, we punch the ticket.
That is so true.
We punch the ticket that, we detach ourselves from the problem, or we think the government's the one that has to do it.
We tend to isolate and make our own little bubble.
And then we perpetuate organizations that are designed not to get rid of the problem, but to just patch it.
Right.
I mean, as long as there's money to be made, with the revolving doors, we're never going to fix a single problem.
Oh, no.
And it's after a while, the patches won't hold that dam, and that water's going to flood.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the reality of it.
It's a fact. And that's how you see communities die.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you see communities where business closed and people move out, trying to find the next disposable community we can go to. Because unless you change the way you're doing things, it's gonna be the same deal wherever you go.
Right. They're just gonna fall.
Yeah.
Just like a Roman Empire.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, this is good seltzer. I mean, we got all philosophical here.
I know, man. It's the lemon and the lime, baby. The lemon and the lime.
That's it.
Man. Well, it's definitely good to see you back. Doing the law stuff. I know. Well, we worked together. He would always come sit in our can. We would talk about different stuff, and he'd pick our brains on what we thought we knew, and then he'd be like, "Did you know?"
How long's your practice been open?
Like where I'm at right now?
Yeah.
Since September.
Wow.
And I always knew
That's awesome.
Ray was always passionate.
Like I said,
about
I got cases here and there over time, and I had some really good ones. I had a phenomenal case coming out of the door that I took that I'm really proud of, and that one was probably one of the reasons why I didn't feel bad not practicing fully for some time, because I stacked that win.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
And I'll tell you the story about that case. I'm gonna make it short. Okay, this is the premise, and you will appreciate this. Lady in the height of the real estate market before the crash of 2008.
Oh boy, that's taking it back.
I'm taking it back. She has a good job. Husband has a good job. They decide that they're gonna build their dream home. They decide they're going to build this 6,500 square foot house.
Oh, my Lord.
On 16 acres, just in a suburb of just outside Worcester, Massachusetts.
I hope they got a cleaner for that place.
Well, I'm pretty sure they did. And they get into it on a very creative loan, on a credit score only, no income verification loan. For $875,000 plus a bubble for $275,000. So it was about $1.1 million
Holy cow.
that they borrowed on a 4-year ARM loan.
What's that?
An ARM loan.
Never heard that one.
Yeah, really? So an ARM loan is a loan in which you only pay you have an adjustable rate, and you only pay for 4 years. You only pay interest. And then at the 4-year point, you get to regular mortgage payments. So, for example, this lady was paying about $2,700 a month because it rises with the market on interest only. So that's not a bad payment on the money they were making for a million and a quarter house, right? And then the 4-year mark shows up. And that house payment becomes $12,000.
Oh my God!
So
those 4 years felt nice.
yeah. But that's what caused the crash.
Oh,
all this
These type of loans.
all these stupid loans that were
creating loans.
My wife was in the mortgage banking business when she worked for the bank closing loans, and this was close. I mean, you could show up with a heartbeat, they'll give you money.
Right.
So they get to that point, and at around this time, the biggest mortgage lender at the time was Washington Mutual.
Okay.
Washington Mutual had a huge package of loans that they've been buying, they've been servicing, and they find themselves that they don't have any cash. They have this book, they have billions of dollars worth of paper money, but they don't have any cash.
Didn't they make a movie about this? Like,
Yeah, The Big Short, it's a good one. But
Yeah.
so this is what they do. They reach out to J.P. Morgan Chase. I'm going to use names here because it's on the record.
It's on the record.
It's on the record.
They shredded all the paperwork.
You can look the case up.
Margin calls another one.
And J.P. Morgan Chase and tell them, hey, J.P., you want to get in this gig with me? I have all this. I have billions of dollars of these notes, but I need some cash to be able to be floating, And Chase says, sure, I'll get in with you, but I got to check your books. So Chase takes the books, checks them out, and calls the Control of Currency and the FDIC and said, hey, did you guys know that Washington Mutual has no money?
Oh, man.
So the Control of Currency comes and shuts down Washington Mutual. And comes around and says, hey, who wants to buy this for pennies on the dollar? And Chase is like, me.
We'll buy it.
So Chase,
They didn't want to do business before, but they'll do it now.
the funny thing is that they get into this purchase, you got to get me talking about the federal government, and I don't want to do it. But this is how stupid this is. The FDIC assumes operations of Washington Mutual and sells it to J.P. Morgan Chase. Couple of problems. The FDIC has a 180-day administrative complaint period. That if you have a claim against the failed bank, you have 180 days to raise it.
Okay.
So if you are Joshua Mosley that lives in, Gales Ferry and has a problem with a bank and you're trying to make sense of it, but you don't know who you have to go against.
Right. It's
Because
a mystery.
all they do is publish a notice in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, saying, hey, any claim that you have against Washington Mutual, you can have 180 days. How many times you sit down with the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, right?
Never.
So that was the first problem that we had. The second problem that we had is that the contract for the sale said J.P. Morgan Chase buys all paper included in Schedule A of this agreement. You know what's in Schedule A? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. So you could have said, they definitely rocked this one, Chase. Bottom line is, lady gets foreclosed. And at the time, there were a bunch of attorneys that were doing foreclosure defense because it was huge. And they had all these crazy theories about, going back to the Big Short and note securitization and blah, blah, blah. And you can't split the note. You have to have signatures, blah, blah, blah. No court gave him any credence, okay? But they were taking clients' money.
Oh, yeah.
And this lady reaches out to me to take her case the day of a motion to dismiss. Mind you, J.P. Morgan Chase is being represented by Morgan, Lewis, and Buckius, which at the time was the second biggest firm in the country. Okay.
So you're taking on them?
Yeah. So
Oh, man.
so I get to court.
Ray Ray.
I get to court and I look at it, and the first thing I tell the judge, I know that these guys want to dismiss the case and go ahead and take this lady's house, but I just took it and I need time to amend the complaint.
Right.
So the judge said, we've been here for a while. Counselor said, Your Honor, I need time. I can't just say.
I got to review this thing.
Yeah.
Says, all right, we'll give you time to amend the complaint. File an amended complaint.
How much time to give you?
I'll give about 2 weeks. But that's fine. That's fine because the complaint essentially,
That's like me getting 2 weeks to play Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
But
in his prime.
But my theory of the case was really simple.
Okay.
The case was really simple.
He's ready.
I call it the cocaine in the trunk of the Nova. Right? So here's what happened. The law in Massachusetts has a statute that's the Predatory Home Loan Practices Act that says that the assuming bank is liable for the misdeeds of the closed bank. Okay?
Just because you didn't know it was 45 doesn't mean you can't. You got to
That's
follow.
right.
You still got to follow the speed limit.
Yeah.
So my theory was essentially this: J-Mo has a 74 Nova, super sport, beautiful car. And he goes to you and says, Brian, I got this Nova.
You want to buy it?
You want to buy it? It's like,
Sure.
oh, by the way, I got 10 cases of Coke in the trunk.
I'll take it.
It's like, and then you go and say, Ledger Police, you might want to take a look at J-Mo's Nova.
Right.
And they go take the Nova, they find the Coke, they impound the car, and they go auction the car. Mind you, they're so freaking dumb that they don't take the Coke out of the trunk.
The Ledger Police.
The Ledger. Well, I'm not saying that to the Ledger Police, but I'm saying what in this case.
Yeah.
The police.
Police
The
department.
police department. They were so dumb that they don't take the Coke out of the trunk, so they sell it to you with the Coke in the trunk.
Yep.
And then they want to say that you are not liable for the Coke. I mean, you go sell the Coke, you make millions of dollars on that Coke that you just sold.
I'm liable.
Yeah. So the bottom line is that they file a motion to dismiss, and usually they file the motion to dismiss on the grounds that the 180 days were exhausted, that Chase. Oh, by the way, the FDIC, they assume all liabilities. They didn't give any liabilities. That's why I had to invoke the State Act. So they go ahead and put a motion to dismiss, saying that the law didn't apply because the assuming bank, the failed bank, the errors of the failed bank could not be given to JPMC because the FDIC took Washington Mutual. I says, I'm not care about Washington Mutual. I care about the originator, Southstar Lending.
Right.
I'm not faulting the assuming bank. I understand the scheme of the FDIC. I'm talking about the original lender. That's the one that transferred and the one you can get away from because they were the ones that did the wrongdoing.
They knew it all along.
Yeah.
And so I went all the way to the First Circuit Court of Appeals, and they came back and they said, nah, you got to take a look at the way you guys are applying this statute. You can't dismiss this case. At which point in time, they get back to me and says, what does your client want?
Her house for free.
Essentially, what they offered her was for giving $250,000 a year for 3 years, and then pay $250 at the market interest rate after that, as long as she made payments.
Wow. Hey.
So
Wow.
I was really happy about that case.
You were probably like, boom, boom, boom,
Well,
boom, boom.
I do kick my own butt about it because I should have just made it bigger than it was and just tried to find out everybody that was involved, and I would have made a lot of money.
Heck
and then we'll be doing this podcast on a yacht somewhere. But I didn't do that. I had stuff to do. But it was a win. And
Yeah.
and to me it was one of those that I said, you know what, I'm fine taking a break. I'm fine not pursuing, hanging my shingle for now. I think
That was still,
Yeah.
that had to be I mean, you did the right thing for this lady.
oh, yeah.
They
Who
had
was-
to have been like,
They were just trying to just screw her over.
Well, she's not.
I mean, she wasn't innocent in this.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
But the way the way they were structuring these mortgages back then were,
they were selling.
they were terrible
They were
for
selling
people.
paradise, and people. They were. They were.
She probably should have never got that mortgage.
That is a fact.
And that's what was wrong with it from the very beginning. That's why I say she got screwed over. And I mean, what you did for her really was you saved her. And don't get me wrong, we all know what happened in 2008. But you saved her from if it wouldn't have happened the way it ended up going, you saved her from a lifelong, unless she would have just got out from under it, a lifelong commitment to this debt she would have never got out of.
And it was
Yeah.
a long shot as it was. I told her from the get go, listen, I'm gonna keep you in this house as long as I can. It took about 4.5 years to prosecute this whole
Yeah.
case.
oh, wow.
So you're gonna be living in your house. You should be making preparations to get a new place.
Mm-hmm.
You're not paying your mortgage because she's foreclosed on it.
Right.
So just
right.
just pay me and put money aside, and we'll keep you there, but be ready to move when
If the time
Yeah.
comes. Yeah.
and she's still at the house.
Of course she is.
She's still there.
Of course she is. She bought a $1 million house for $200,000.
She
Yeah,
should be
275.
She should be inviting you every year for a barbecue.
At least Thanksgiving dinner.
She keeps pinging
chicken
me about
wings.
giving me new cases, but it's too much of a hike to go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a little bit of a
a
move.
little bit of a drive. And
But I bet she's got some. I bet she's got some good clients up there.
I know there's good hunting on that land that she
Hey,
has.
now we're
I bet.
talking.
Hey, all right.
Now we're
There's
talking.
definitely good hunting in that place. Her husband is a big hunter.
Hey,
Oh, hey. Yeah,
we're ready
what's
for
their
some more
names?
homework. What's her name?
Yeah. We know Uncle Ray Ray.
No, because she's gonna call me and says, "Hey, you haven't called me back. I have this case for you. I sleep on Phil's. Like, I already got you almost $1 million. I keep stop looking for more." So
Oh boy, that's awesome. That's cool. That's a story.
Yeah, man.
Especially like your first big one.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was right off the gate.
Yeah.
That was right off the gate. Looking, little things, and it was a nice paycheck. I had a couple. I had a couple like that. I had a couple personal injury ones that pay for some stuff.
Could have got your face on a billboard.
Yeah, but that,
Maybe.
Mhm. I'm gonna get that face on the billboard by the subways.
You can't get that one. That one. I don't know what's up with that one.
You lost your baby. Call me.
Yeah.
You ever heard? You ever heard how hard it is to get that billboard?
Is it?
Oh yeah, try. If you can figure it out, you let me know.
Oh, really? You tried to get the barbershop there?
I didn't. My wife tried getting that one.
Really?
It's impossible. The
Who owns it?
Well, it sounds like the submarine car wash has got that one locked up, but they don't own it.
Oh, those guys are going under anyway.
Oh yeah, once that new car wash opens, forget it.
We got go down.
I
12,
feel
there's
bad.
Like
I feel
7
bad.
of them
That
being
was my
built.
go-to.
I do too, but I mean that new car wash is going to be the place.
They're building them all down 12.
Oh, they're building them
They
everywhere.
have like 17. I mean, that's the new. Somebody's laundering money around here.
Yeah, I'm like, man.
I mean,
Car
Are there
wash-
that many cars that need to be washed around here?
Car washes. We are so digressing. Car washes and
laundromats.
and laundromats and oil change places.
I'll
What
tell
is
you what.
going on?
I'll go halfsies. I'll go halfsies with anybody on a laundromat. A well-placed laundromat
Yeah.
in a heartbeat. I even put my office in the back.
There we go.
You know,
You can do
you know
your
you got-
laundry. You can get your kids.
That is so shady.
You get steady clients, man. Better call Ray.
Oh
Need a
god,
picture on every washing machine.
it doesn't get shadier than that.
Bumper stickers all over the place.
He comes out wearing like a wife beaters t-shirt and he's like covered in sweat. What can I do for you? I'm your lawyer.
Come on.
My name is Ramon.
I'm your lawyer. I speak Spanish, so I'm good.
Ramon.
Yeah.
All right, you guys got anything else?
Oh, man.
No, man, that's been fun.
Oh yeah, this is great. This is what it should be like. All right, guys, if you got nothing else, I don't have anything else for you. Ray, it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
I
it's
knew it would
always good
be,
to see
and I
you
was
again.
so happy when you reached out and you offered to want to come on, and you're welcome to come back anytime you want.
Excellent.
Man.
My pleasure, man. Great to be with you guys. Jamo, I love you. Love you too, man.
Yeah,
Keep
always.
stacking wins.
Absolutely, and you do the
Yes.
same, and we'll have him back
Yes.
on here because this has been too much fun. We got to have
Oh,
him
yeah.
back. So, all right, guys, we'll talk to you again soon. Second wins.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. It
Yeah,
helps the channel
Josh
out.
is a like and subscribe police. He's gonna keep
Yeah.
us. He's gonna keep us straight.
Let's
So
go. Boop.
subscribe to the channel, like this video, and yeah, we'll be back for another one. All right, guys, thanks so much.
Thanks.